Hello everyone, good morning. My name's Lewis, I'm the founder of a creative and digital agency called Red Lantern. We've got a session today about engaging and understanding Chinese fans. It's a bumper panel, 5 people. So we're lucky to be joined by 3 of the biggest clubs in Europe and also one of the fastest growing clubs in the Chinese Super League. So if we could just invite the panel to come onto the stage. Firstly, we've got Robbie, who is AC Milan's man in Beijing. Next is Juvan, who works for Manchester United. He is based in Hong Kong. Benjamin, who works for Borussia Dortmund in Shanghai. And Dien, who is the founder of a marketing platform called EcoSports. And Liu Hao, who works for Chinese Super League club Chongqing Dangdai Lifan. So a little bit of housekeeping before the meeting. Most of the panel will be in English, but there will be bits and pieces in Chinese. So if you do need a headset, go and grab one now. Today's subject is understanding and engaging Chinese fans, and that's a subject that agencies like ours, clubs and brands wrestle with every day. It's a very broad topic, but we'll try and pick out some kind of key aspects of that today. If we start with you, Robbie, if we look at AC Milan as a club and trying to comprehend different behaviours of Chinese fans versus domestic, how would you characterise the difference between, for example, an AC Milan fan in Milan versus an AC Milan fan in Beijing?
Of course. I think the difference is pretty obvious, given the fact that the experience of receiving or becoming the fan of a certain club is differently. So, for example, if there's a fan in Milan, so he can go to the stadium, he can hang out with the community, with the local fan club, whereas a fan in China, even in Beijing or Shanghai, he probably receive the information from broadcasters and also probably at night and watch the game along. So that's pretty much how they experience quite differently. So, and also the fact that given the Serie A was broadcasted back in the 90s, and that was one of the first leagues that had been broadcasted in China live. So back that time, a lot of glories and back the trophies was winning a lot of fans for us here in China. Whereas for Italian football fans, they're more community-based and they're more local-based. So if you grew up in somewhere in Milan, they probably become very hardcore fans. Well, here, the receiving channels mostly from broadcasters and also bring by both the trophies back in the days, and also it's very interesting that we noticed a lot of Chinese fans follow a certain team because there's one coach that he super likes, or there's one certain, for example, Kaká or Shevchenko, who they do follow, and then that's how they become eventually a follower of a team. So that's basically how the difference is, I would say.
And if we look at unpicking this relationship between the content that you publish globally and the content that you publish in China, Juvan, if we look at Manchester United, obviously a hugely successful club commercially, how do you tell the story differently on your global channels versus how you tell it on your China channels?
They're indeed quite different. Because I think, after all, if you think about why fans follow Manchester United at the first place, if you're originally based in Manchester, you follow it because maybe your grandparents do. But if you think about fans of China, maybe it was because David Beckham or Cristiano Ronaldo. So we need to think about what's the reason behind why they're following our club, and therefore we need to create the same type of content and with tone to appeal to these fans internationally, and particularly in China, for example. So in China, the content we create sometimes would probably focus more on star players, which always works. In the past, David Beckham's and now the Pogba's, I think it's more player-focused because China is a player-focused market. At the same time, I think we also have a lot of followers who loved past successes in like the 99s, those amazing times when we won the treble. These are amazing times that we had. So sometimes we would also talk about times in the past where our wins and all these trophies that we won. So these content work very well for our fans in China. And the tone also needs to be localized a little bit more, because after all, you can't just copy and paste stuff from the Western media to the Chinese media. It just wouldn't work. The emojis, the colloquial terms, we want to customize those, we want to localize those. So that's the difference. A lot of localization is being done with our content.
If we look at that issue, Benjamin, of adapting the tone of voice that the club has to adopt in China versus the tone it uses globally, what do you think it is about Dortmund as a brand that has made it so appealing in China? And then how do you find a tone of voice to reflect that locally?
Yeah. I mean, our overall strategy from BVB is to bring BVB as close to the Chinese market as possible. We had to learn at the beginning that a strategy isn't something static here in China, therefore the market is way too fast. Probably in Germany a strategy lasts for 3 to 5 years. That doesn't work over here. So if we are true to ourselves, we would say we had to adjust this strategy several times. When I'm thinking back probably 2 years ago, everything in our digital content strategy was about localizing content. So not copying everything from Facebook or from our website, but generating stories over here in China. But that got within, I would say, 1.5 years, so much standardized. Every club is doing this. So with our new strategy, we are focusing more on rich content. So using GIFs, using graphics, using maybe cartoons and stickers, and of course videos to engage the fans more in China and to bring those BVB values, those intense football, what we stand for, over here to China. Actually, that worked pretty good. We got this Red Card Award with this live streaming for best live streaming in the last year. I think it was over 12 million Chinese fans followed our live sessions from Dortmund, from the stadium. So there we see that this rich content is a good way to approach Chinese fans.
Dien, coming from it from a kind of almost neutral point of view, you can obviously take a view on the different strategies that all the clubs adopt in China. Are there any common mistakes that foreign clubs are making when they're trying to build these relationships with fans, particularly at the outset, that you would kind of say a kind of list of things not to do or kind of things to avoid?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously, this kind of 3 clubs, they did a very great job in China. But if you look at the understanding and engaging fans, there are some mistakes in China in terms of the foreign clubs when they're doing the digital marketing strategy or something. So because one thing is understanding fans is not like just a one move. If you learn something from China, so it will just give you the whole knowledge about Chinese markets. It's like a continually learning process. You need to understand the fans step by step because the internet context in China is changing very fast. Because 5 years ago could be the Weibo, WeChat, and right now we got different kind of video or live stream platforms in everywhere. So you need to keep learning to know the watching or reading behavior of Chinese fans, and you can find the best way to give the sense of belongings to them. And also, in terms of the engaging fans, there's also some mistakes. Lots of clubs, they would like to set an objective like a number or a figure in terms of the followers or interaction rates. And as far as I know, some clubs, they are doing some promotion things. They are sending out the iPad, iPhone to get more followers. But in my opinion, that's the fake followers. Literally, they are real followers, but they are not your target follower or fans. They are just they just want to participate in this kind of activity for that iPad, not for your club, not for your teams, and they will not give you more interactions in the future. So that's a very, a common mistakes in terms of this kind of digital marketing strategy.
Liu Hao, if we move on to looking at things from a CSL perspective, 这个赛季是重庆成功冲桥后的第4个赛季，是吧？球队有没有对球队的粉丝群有任何调查？重庆的粉丝群有什么特点？
是的，我们在这个赛季之前的冬歇期对重庆的球迷做了一个抽样的调查，我们通过线上和线下的方式，一共收回了2000份有效的问卷。那么在这个问卷当中，我们发现了一些非常有意思的数据，同时我们觉得这些数据也可能有一定的参考性。首先从这个性别上来讲，我们调查反馈的信息是有86%的球迷依然是男性，但是女性的比例已经达到14%，这个比例在过去的3年当中应该来讲增长是非常迅速的。然后第二块是这个年龄层，年龄层从20岁到45岁这个阶段，占的比例大概在91%左右。然后第三个是成为球迷的年限，我们发现我们的球迷从1年到3年，3年到5年，5年到10年都是20%左右比例，但是10年以上的球迷占了30%，这可能跟这个他们当时从90年代开始看中超这个联赛有关系。那么第4块就是这个教育背景这一块，我们发现我们的球迷当中有45%的球迷拥有大学本科及本科以上的学历，这一点是令我们比较意外的。第5块是收入，收入这一块，月收入在5000元人民币以上的球迷大概占了1半左右。那么在消费这一块呢，平均每个月花费在足球相关的事情上的消费达到200元人民币以上的，占了42%。最后一个项目是对于这个球赛的关注度，那么98%的球迷，他们除了关注重庆本地俱乐部的比赛之外，还会关注国内的中超比赛、亚冠比赛以及欧洲5大联赛的比赛。那么这第一部分球迷画像这一块，我们得出的结论就是，我们现在的球迷的整体的结构和20年前相比有了非常大的变化。这个变化主要体现在3点，第一点是更加的年轻化，然后第2点呢是他们的这个教育背景更加好，第3点就是他们的收入以及消费能力都有很大的提高。因此我们判断可能在未来的3到5年之内，就是中国的这个球迷在足球相关的消费领域可能会产生一个新的增长点。然后第2块是关于这个数字媒体这一块的调查，我们发现我们的球迷有84%都会关注俱乐部官方的微博和微信，那么当中有57%的球迷会每天都看新闻的刷新。然后我们在线上的这个售票这一块呢，也有达到66%的球迷是只通过线上渠道购买球票。这一点可以看到我们球迷现在对线上的关系越来越紧密。
If we look at that kind of sophisticated analysis of what a fan base looks like, do you have a quite a close feeling and understanding of the nature and kind of segmentation of AC Milan's fan base in China at the moment? What does that look like and how does that inform your strategy?
Basically, we now working with Deloitte to deliver a very comprehensive fan base survey, and we hopefully to do that in about a couple of months. And without having that very data, but what I can say for now is that from what I and the club understood is that there are a couple of things worth noticing. First thing is we have a long history of club followers in China. So back in the 90s, first broadcast in the CCTV, that gives a lot of credibility and a lot of glories to the club. And some of the fans, or most of them, are very loyal fans. So probably more than 5 or 10 years of following the club. And also, one thing that we noticed that is the female. When Mr. Liu talked about your female fan followers, about 14, right? we have understanding that probably for our fund it's about 20, so slightly more than that. So probably because the good-looking guys used to play for the team, including Kaká, Shevchenko, or Maldini, that everyone is aware of. Another thing is how we understand is the core of our followers are family men. So after, for example, 10 years of follow the club, now they become the family man with a family, with a wife and a kid, and that actually change or kind of shape the behavior of the fans. For example, they probably have more spending powers, but at the same time, they have very limited time of media consumptions because they're too busy. So this is something that we need to take into consideration, especially for the digital strategy. So we are now looking at two ways, basically. One is we're trying to go to more in-depth. So for those who have followed the club for over 10 years, they want to know more than just how good you're doing on the ground or the training details, but they want to see a little bit more in-depth analytical analysis of the performance on the ground for each individual players and of the team as a whole. So that is why we recently opened the Gongqiu account officially, and through that platform we got very good engagement rate, and also some in-depth content. We're trying to focus on those hardcore fans to help them bring them closer to the club. But at the same time, we are thinking about how to attract the female fans more, and also to be more appealing to young generations. So that's why we also have a strategy that we are trying to do now in China, is to expand from a football club, a football brand, to a more lifestyle side. So for example, as the city per se is a very attractive city. We have a lot of lifestyle, good food in Italian, luxury and fashion brands, all based in Milan. So this is something we're trying to do in the future, not just focused on the football ground, but also off the pitch, and also kind of lifestyle of the city, of the Italian, that bring that element to China, closer to our fans.
This, I think when we look globally, generally, if you look at the kind of back-end social data, it seems to be, in terms of a gender split, it's often 90% men. But as you just mentioned, we see a higher percentage of female fans here following football. Clearly your strategy is still in development, but do you have any early ideas about how you will kind of tailor content for that side of the audience, or will it be the same?
Yes, it's that. I think we're thinking about, if you look at the female consumption, media consumption, they do not really care about the in-depth performance or analytical content, but they're more focused on human angle of the content side. So, for example, if it's some players from our club, that could be more interactive to our fans. For example, we're thinking about new platforms such as Douyin, that kind of lifestyle, live streaming content, be more inter-humans content, would be more probably aligned with the strategy that we're thinking of.
I think everyone will know that certain platforms are blocked in China. No Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram. Can you just talk through what platforms Manchester United are currently using as a club, and what different audiences perhaps that those platforms point towards?
So right now we have two main offerings on our social media platforms right now. So first of all, we've got Sina Weibo, and secondly, we've got WeChat. I'm sure all of you have heard of these platforms. In terms of how we utilize these platforms, though, it's a little bit different, because Sina Weibo is probably a little bit more similar to Twitter. It's an open platform where people can see all sort of content regardless of whether you're a follower or not. Like, you probably could share on a wall and you could see others' feeds. So it's a lot easier for content to be shared and spread on Sina Weibo. So in that sense, we're utilizing Sina Weibo as a channel to reach out to a more sort of follower but also casual fans. So whenever we publish the news on about a transfer or so on, it spreads very easily across Sina Weibo, and that's how we use it really to grow our reach, really, to reach as much people as possible. On the other hand, we've got WeChat. WeChat, while you use it as a day-to-day messenger, there's also this functionality where you could follow accounts, subscription accounts, so-called. So every day we could publish a post. And it's mainly focused on our hardcore follower fans. So people actually have to follow our WeChat account in order to get these pushes every single day. These are very highly engaged audiences. They almost read every single news that we publish. On CNET, probably not everybody reads every single post. But on WeChat, if somebody follows you, we're very proud that a lot of these posts are almost being read by every single person who follows us. But how strong WeChat actually is. And our strategy actually is hopefully to grow on WeChat and Weibo, because I think Robbie mentioned just now, it's indeed true that I would say China is a relatively fragmented market. So people are all over the place. Urban, rural populations are on probably different platforms. Everyone likes to use their own sort of type of style. So Dongqiuli, for example, Toutiao, these are platforms that we feel are of high potential that we want to grow to. We right now have more than 9 million followers on Sina Weibo. We're also the most engaging platform on WeChat. So we're really proud of these achievements. But I think to further grow, and our strategy really is to further extend our reach through launching on more platforms, which I hope in a couple of months' time, if I were to speak to you all again, I would be able to announce a couple extra platforms in front of you.
Benjamin, I think it's worth just pondering WeChat for a little bit longer, because it's obviously a phenomenon here in China. It's almost a way of life. It's omnipotent. It's it's how you buy your food when you're traveling on a train, and all manner of other things. How does Dortmund as a club view WeChat? Is it a social channel? Is it a CRM? What's your take on it?
Yeah, the question is what we as a club do on WeChat. Our basic strategy is that we divide our content into four main pillars. So we say, is it just updates on news? Is it more entertaining? Or is it educational part, like telling our history, big history of the club? Or is it bonding, so interacting with the fans? So, for example, our website is almost 90% just update. Latest news about the club, rather than Weibo is more entertaining. And the WeChat is engaging with the real diehard fans, as you mentioned before. So we think, of course, those numbers are lower because it's also more work for the fans to read through all those articles and to engage with the club, but those fans are really diehard fans and engaged with the club. We saw this on WeChat. We think it's a really personal communication. And we saw that those fans are engaged. We had a terrible defeat this season. I don't want to mention which game it was, but afterwards we saw so many posts on WeChat that BVB fans said, yes, it's true, I'm a BVB fan and I'm standing up for this. And we think this is something really not common in China, because where everything is about constant success and gaining face is something special to say, hey, even after a loss, I would say so. So we were overwhelmed by this feedback, and I think therefore WeChat is a really nice channel to interact with our die-hard BVB fans in China.
Yeah, and I think we as an agency would reiterate that. I think a lot of our clients are kind of constantly challenging us about follower numbers on WeChat, because they think, well, everyone in China is using WeChat, why haven't we got 10 million followers on WeChat? And it's just a much more intimate platform, and the value of a WeChat follower, I think we think as an agency is much higher than those followers on other platforms, and should be viewed as such. I think some of the other panelists have already mentioned the NDN, new platforms emerging in China that should perhaps be looked at. Could you describe for the audience perhaps 2 or 3 of those platforms that they should watch out for, and what's different about them? For example, something like Douyin, why has that become such a quick success, and will it last?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just mentioned before that we have different media channels right now. So like it's a hot topic about Douyin, about Toutiao, about something new media platform. So, but if not just a club perspective, for all the content creator, we need to think about 2 questions, in my opinion. One is how the profile and how the feature of this kind of platform can fit your content. So is that the user or audience of this kind of media content really is your potential user or audience? I guess probably not. Maybe 2 or 3 new media platforms could be your potential audience, but some others maybe they are not. So when you want to when you want to launch a new media platform like hotel, like Douyin, you need to think about it. You need to think about the profile of this kind of audience. And the second question is, do you really find a strategic way in terms of the content to attract more followers in this new kind of media platforms? So I can see that like Robbie, like Juan, like Benjamin, like Mr. Liu, they all did a very tough work for understanding the difference between Weibo and WeChat. It's totally different. So we need to apply different strategy to attract fans. And in terms of the Douyin hotel, also need you to do more research to understand how this platform works, how the reading behavior of this kind of audience is very tough, and it's as I mentioned, it's changing. It's changing. It's maybe have a dramatic change in 6 months. So it's challengeable for me to understand readers. And in terms of the club perspective, I guess they have to find a good way. They cannot just replicate the content from Weibo, WeChat, and then put into the new media platform. They need to find maybe the totally fresh, totally new content, a structure of content to attract the new fans. So yeah, I think it's a long-term plan, but you need to modify your track step by step in the future. So that will make the like digital media marketing strategy successful, in my opinion.
And with Douyin, obviously it's a platform that links music and video short form. What is it about the Chinese market and what digital users in China like? Why has that platform been so successful so quickly?
In my opinion, I don't want to define it as music or something platform. I think it's the recorder of a lifestyle of everyone. So I think any interesting content, any content who can stimulate the curiosity about a user could be successful in this kind of platform. So yeah, so that's the reason why, because we have some, fragile time right now to maybe we just have the time to enjoy, to watch the video just like 2 or 3 minutes. So you need to attract the readers and the audience in the 2 or 3 minutes. It's very challengeable, but that's the main trend right now. So in terms of the football club, I think Juventus just launched the official Douyin account last week. So let's go and see and how they can just use this kind of club football content to attract this kind of fan. Because as we all know, we believe that football could be the lifestyle of many Chinese people. So it's definitely right to get into this kind of platform to give the football clubs, players, match content into this kind of new media platform audience, and then give them a better way to understand, to feel the sense of belongingness from the club.
So obviously there's lots of platforms in China. It's about bringing them all together and finding the right way to use them. Liu Hao, 请介绍一下，在一个中超比赛日，重庆的社交媒体团队的结构是什么样的？什么样的内容是最受欢迎的？能否举些例子？
现在我们俱乐部情况这样，就是涉及到数字媒体这一块的内容，基本上是以这种代理外包的模式来做。那么我们在比赛日当天，我们大概会有6个团队来做这个事情。第一个团队是数据团队， 他们会收集这个比赛的交战的双方他们历史的数据，包括球员的数据和记录。那么第二个团队是海报的团队。那么海报团队今年就是从去年以来吧，我们俱乐部在这一块可能在中超来讲的话，做的还算比较不错的，也得到了国内其他的地方的球迷的一些认可。然后第三块团队就是视频团队，我们会有大概3到4个人的视频拍摄小组，会在整个球场的各个球迷看台抓拍球迷庆祝的一些视频。然后第4个团队呢，就是跟队的，他们主要是赛前球队到达球场的拍摄，以及发布会，包括球队这个在更衣室庆祝或者怎么样的这些拍摄。第5个团队呢是在微博平台的图文直播，他们会实时的把图片啊，或者是动图啊，以及文字发到那个微博的直播号里面。然后第6个团队就是后台的一个总控团队，这个总控团队除了协调发布各项资源以外，还会在球迷聚集的一些网上的论坛以及他们的讨论组里面去抓取一些他们的一些比较好的视频元素。然后目前就是球迷最欢迎的，可能从去年到今年主要就是海报吧。这一块我也举一个例子，比方说今年前一场比赛，我们一个主场比赛的海报就是以这个电影《头号玩家》为这个主题的。如果大家看过电影就知道，那么在这个《头号玩家》里面，游戏中的玩家想要通关，必须要通过一只大猩猩堵在一个路口那里，但是他们最后是绕道过去才成功的。但是我们这个海报创意呢，就是说，因为我们的前锋的外援速度非常快，所以我们创意就是说，他通过他的速度直接穿过了这个猩猩的封锁，然后成功了。这是一个海报设计，这也是比较受球迷欢迎的。然后今年来，可能我们有一个新的尝试，就是我们在短视频这一块也做了一些尝试，目前也得到一些球迷比较好的反馈。之前第1场比赛的时候，当时因为我们一个非常年轻的后卫队员可能犯了一个错误，险些让我们丢了球。那么当时我们的门将也是非常激动，是直接从背后抓住他的脖子，然后对他吼了2声。那么当时球迷看到这个情景以后，觉得是不是这2个队员平时在私下里有关系不好啊，或者是有不和的这种传闻？那么我们后来就通过一种短视频的方式来做了一个尝试，我们让这2个球员单独的做一个这个射门和扑救的一个比赛。那么如果后卫队员进球多，那么他就赢了；如果门将扑的球多，那么门将就赢了。那么赢了的人就能够让输了的人做一件事情。最后结果是那个年轻的后卫赢了，然后他就以当天那个守门员掐着他脖子的姿势，他也掐了一下那个守门员，当然是非常轻的。同时他还回头对着镜头微微的一笑。那么这个短视频出来以后，就是球迷的效果非常好，他们就原来他们俩关系还是不错的，就把这个不和这个传闻破掉了。这可能比俱乐部单独的出一份公告什么之类的效果要好得多。
So Robbie, we've heard there about how teaching their strategy and how they structure it on a match day. We can look at it from a kind of club point of view internationally, that classic question of whether are you better served doing it in-house or using a specialist agency. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits and challenges of each model and where the club is at the moment?
Sure. I think the strength of the in-house media team is the foundation of the content creation across any club. Basically, you have to have an on-the-ground team to capture the essence of pre-match, post-match, during the match, the training ground, behind-the-scenes stories, that kind of things. And that's the basic and the must. But at the same time, if you look at the agency, they have their strengths as well. They pretty much open to different clubs, so they are more exposed to digital communication world. And that's where their expertise, their insights regarding local fans, regarding how the latest, the trend, behaviors, and that kind of thing that would be difficult for a club to really do that in-house. And that's what I believe is actually the strengths of agencies, both in Italy and China. So what we are adopting now is a hybrid model. So we have in Milan, we have a media house with a team of about 20 to 30 people. They're doing daily broadcasting content, behind the scenes stories. And we have a Milan TV, which is a subscribed channel. They provide content for that as well. At the same time, in that media house, we now have 2 Chinese employees. One is as the host, one is as the editor, to make sure that the daily content will be customized based on the local market requests and insights, and make sure the content will be delivered in a manner that suits local market perfectly. So, for example, what we did yesterday is a new post that we have understands that it is a Sikh fan, and his wish is to have a team jersey with Gattuso's signature. So what we do is we ask media team in Milan and have Gattuso to sign the jersey and bring that to China and then deliver to the fan. And that is something we're trying to accomplish, is to utilize the strengths of our in-house media team and also supporting the local market inside. And this is what we see ourselves will carry on doing in the future.
So if we look at, having looked at the importance of structure, how important is it for digital growth that the club is successful on the pitch? And in a season where the club might, in fans' eyes, underperform on the pitch, how do you make sure, or is it possible to still deliver consistent growth digitally in China?
That's a great question. I think we do set a very high bar for ourselves in the past years, where we do rack up a lot of trophies every year. So being a successful team also means it comes along with a lot of challenge on the pitch every single season. I think what that means, though, is on the pitch performance certainly affects how we perform on social media, but I don't think it dictates our performance, and I'm sure we could actually do well and have great strategies on social media in order to help us to continue to grow. I guess all of us here wants your team to win 4-0 every week, and then on social media, your fans would all be hyper and happy on every single post, very high engagement, that's for sure. But what I'm trying to say, though, is if you actually talk about and create the right content on your platforms that audience wants to read about, be it the history of your club, be it some lifestyle news about your players, some behind the scenes, Pogba doing a cool dance, these that can also appeal to the audience. So while we want to win every single game on the pitch, which we know is very hard nowadays, what we think is we really need to focus on this sort of content creation, writing up interesting things for our followers, and we're sure that they will continue to read them. United has over 100 million followers in China, and we're only around 9 million on Sina Weibo. Despite our WeChat already most engaging numbers, we do see a lot of room for growth still. So I think as long as we do the right thing, these kind of content in China, I think we'll continue to get this kind of reception. And also, I think we need to keep on experimenting. China is a very sort of celebrity and KOL-driven kind of economy, or these people are massive in China. And we really need to create campaigns. For example, United, there are a lot of celebrity fans that follows United. We try to create campaigns to leverage these KOL followers, so that they can then attract their followers to follow us. There's a very famous celebrity called Luhan. People follow him a lot, massively, and a lot of people actually follow United because they know their celebrity. Their favorite person in the world follows United. So we need to be innovative in terms of how we can continue to absorb these new fans into our fan base, continue to grow that. And I guess experimenting new content. We tried to live stream a youth game, 3 a.m. at night once, Manchester United versus Derby County youth game. We weren't quite sure about what the results were going to be, but actually it went out quite well. I think we had over 1 million views and 100,000 peak viewers. So for 3 a.m. kickoff, I think that's a pretty decent number for a youth game. So I think come up with the right content, keep experimenting, and I think that's how you could continue to retain and grow your follower base. And of course, I want to win 4-0 every week, but we do have other ways to make sure we do well.
I think if we talk about success, it's quite a difficult question for me to ask as an England fan, but how has the recent success of the German national team benefited Dortmund? And which of your players are most popular in China online? And can you give us some insights as to why they're popular in China? What is it about them that's triggered that?
Yeah, that's right. The German soccer has a strong reputation over here. very sophisticated approach. I think, of course, we as a club participate or benefit from this reputation, no doubt about that. On the other hand, we as a club develop this German soccer. I mean, we are bringing in those young stars. That's the BVB approach, not buying with 200 million euros expensive players. We are the other way around. We're developing those young, fast, dynamic, hungry young kids. And as you said, we got a couple of ones of them. Probably the most famous ones over here are Götze and Royce. Schmelzer, Schein, there are a couple more ones. But especially Götze and Royce are very famous over here. So their sport of success drives BVB. Maybe there's one other aspect which we don't have in Germany about those stars. For example, Marco Reus won a couple of fashion awards over here in China. We won't have that probably in Germany, but this shows us as a club that this fashion and lifestyle topic about the players is a big thing over here as well, and we got to play it and work with it.
About Dortmund's approach being not to sign big money players, but we often hear that China is a star-centric market, so nonetheless, how important is it for you in China to have these iconic players?
Say it again.
In terms of Dortmund as a club, how important is it for you to have these players that are very recognizable in China?
Well, it's definitely important. I mean, if you see those surveys, the first question is, why do you follow a club? I think it's basically everybody saying it's about the stars and the success. This is answer number one. And then in the second place, which is where we are proud of, is also the club values and the playing style. So this is where we try to focus on more, that those values come over here, that we are not that dependent on those players. But yeah, the surveys show that players and success is still number one.
I think if we look at that, talking about research around fans in China, I think when we run focus groups and do surveys, often we find that the entry point for fandom in China is a World Cup. So a fan will spot a player in a World Cup, like them, and then follow them through to their club side. And that's how the journey begins. The MDN, if we look at the World Cup on the horizon this summer, with China not being there, can you explain how a Chinese fan will choose a team to support, or maybe more than one team, and how that mentality works?
Yeah, first of all, the Chinese fans get used to it, right? The outside of the World Cup is only nearly 14 years. So, yeah, but so every time, especially for the World Cup, it's like a good opportunity to have a good knowledge about the different kind of national teams. Especially like 2 years ago, Europa Champions League is like people get used to understand the Welsh, Iceland kind of national teams, and it's very interesting that the Chinese fans, they tend to appreciate this kind of football match, especially in the World Cup periods, and I don't think it's like we speak into a teams, or maybe France, maybe England, maybe Argentina. So we just want to watch the intense, we want to watch the entertaining match during these games. We want to remember some very precious moments, or some great save, great goals, this kind of things. So it's like, for me, for myself, I support Netherlands. Okay, still upset of the World Cup. And maybe I can support France. Why? Because I like their jersey. So it's very simple. And maybe I may support England because I live in England for 4 years. So yeah, we just want to watch this kind of intense game and want to have a good memory about World Cup. So that's it. So during that time, we want to follow the news, follow the you mentioned before the behind the scenes content or something about that. To let the World Cup to be your part of life at that time. So yeah, we follow everything. We follow every interesting content.
I think perhaps people that don't know the Chinese market will assume because China are not in the World Cup that there won't be that bigger interest in the World Cup here. But can you just quickly talk about
the number of people that will watch games and how popular it will be here during the summer?
During the summer?
Yeah.
You mean the match? Or?
Yeah, I think in terms of the popularity of the tournament, despite the fact that China aren't there, lots of people are still going to be watching the World Cup here in China.
Yeah, you expect a World Cup or another game or another World match?
This World Cup. This World Cup.
It's just personally I can't remember the game for the national team or something like that.
It's just, despite the fact China aren't in the World Cup, 中国没有资格世界杯，但是很多人还愿意看所有的比赛。
Yeah, yes. So yeah, that's because we get used to feel that national team not involved in World Cup. So like it happens only one time in 2002. So every period of the World Cup, we just follow the CCTV and just watch the game, and especially for the if you see the broadcasting rates, so you can see the final, the semi-final, and maybe some death group from the World Cup. It would be definitely attract more people, especially for some female audience. They like to feel what's the feeling about the World Cup and why you are so excited about it. So as I say, and she will just give a glance of it, and but that's the reason why World Cup need to happen every 4 years and attract more people to love football.
I think one kind of interesting question, we've obviously got 3 international clubs here, is how the CSL views those clubs. Are they friends? Are you competing for the same eyeballs? Or can you support more than one club? 在中国，很多国际俱乐部一直在努力发展自己的新媒体球迷群。中国俱乐部是怎么看这种的现象？对于你们来说是一个好事还是一个隐患？
我觉得从目前来讲的话，可能还不构成这种竞争关系吧。因为首先，我觉得可以从3个角度来讲。第一个角度，从这个个体的球迷角度来讲，那么我所认识的中国球迷，绝大多数人都有2支支持的球队。那么第一支可能是他的家乡球队，或者是他生活城市的球队；第2支呢，就肯定是他所认为的整个世界范围内最优秀的球队。那么这些球队一般都是在欧洲5大联赛当中。那么而且我觉得就是他们这种同时支持2支球队的情况呢，可能是从心理学角度来讲，可能是有2种原因。第一个呢，支持家乡球队是一种情感需求，然后第2个呢，支持这个他们觉得是最好的 team best team， 这是一种审美的需求。因为你无论是对这种球星个人的审美，还是对整个球队表现出来的竞技的这个风貌也好，这个拼搏的精神也好，这是一种审美的需求。那么从目前来讲呢，他们中国球迷的家乡球队可能离他们心目当中的这种达到审美需求的标准可能还有一定距离，所以说这种同时支持2个球队的情况，可能还会在相当长的一段时间内持续下去。那么第2点呢，我觉得是从这个联赛的层面来讲，首先这个中国的联赛和欧洲联赛，首先在时间上它是不重叠的，它不影响你同时去关注2个联赛的比赛。然后从地域上来讲呢，也没有太多的可能出现2地的这个俱乐部的球队进行交锋的这种情况，所以球迷也不用面临选择是我一定要放弃哪支去支持另外一支。所以在近期内，可能球迷来讲，他可以一直保持喜欢2个球队的习惯。那么第3点，我觉得其实从这个中国联赛和欧洲联赛关系来讲的话，可能在近期相当长一段时间内可以产生一种合作关系。比方说，我们现在可以发现很多这种美洲的球员，包括非洲的球员，他们可能不能直接到欧洲俱乐部去踢球，那么可以先来中超联赛， 那么在这边成长了以后，然后被欧洲俱乐部关注了，然后再从中国转回到欧洲市场，这可能会形成一个球员流动然后增值的这样一个链条。
That brings today's panel to a close. I'd like to thank all the panelists for taking part. We'll have Real Madrid up next, but first a round of applause, I think, for all our guests.